I know that spin makes me giggle too. Hello and welcome to the Shakti Ma Spin, a podcast hosted and facilitated by Shakti Ma International. This is a space to be vulnerable, a space to be conscious, a space to be curious. Make this a space that is useful for you. Today we're going to talk to Matthew Manriquez, a very good friend of mine, obviously makes me smile. His soul name is Simha Hari. He is a rolfing instructor, the only in El Paso,
There's two.
there's two rolfers in El Paso, Texas. He's coming to us from El Paso. And he is a Dikshaka, a full priest in the Mahajriya Buddhist tradition. My name is Susie. You can call me Ram Shraddha. And tonight we're going to dive into what it is like being a newbie. And we're going to define it in our own way. Basically, I'm going to invite that a newbie means day 1 to year 2
Okay.
of being sick
Year
of
2.
suffering. Technically, I guess it would just be like day 1 to, it doesn't really, there is no timeline because everyone's experience is different, their age matters, and so I don't know. But
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So before we kick off, is there anything that you want to add about you, Matthew?
Okay, so hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm not a rolfing instructor, but I am a rolfing practitioner.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah. It's okay. I just wanted to correct it if any rolfers are listening and they're
Good
like, what?
idea.
He's an instructor. I would probably hear about it because rolfing is like the Freemasons. It's very close knit, and we all
Okay.
talk behind each other's back.
Okay. Let the record show he did not say instructor. No, I get that. I get that. I honor that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anything else I want to say? About me? I don't know. The thing that comes to mind though is when you say day 1, you said day 1, and now I'm thinking, so what's day 1?
I know. What is
Like,
day 1?
When was day 1? And then you had kind of defined it as when you still don't want to have suffering. And I thought, well, when does that end?
Yeah, I have no. I think honestly saying day 1 isn't true because the first day that you're like, this shit is ridiculous. I don't know about you, but I still wasn't ready to face it just because I identified it as being ridiculous. So I don't even know if that's even fair to say. Day 1, where you were like, okay, suffering is annoying. Let's do something else.
Yeah. So I think what you're highlighting is day 1 is the day where suffering piles up so much it consumes your vision, and that's the only thing you see at some point. And it seems like day 1 is the turning point where you finally decide, hey, maybe this is too much suffering, or it's so much that something's got to be done about it. You lose I like this guy, Krishna Das. He says, if we didn't have suffering in our life, then we wouldn't even have gotten to the point where we gotten sick of whatever is wrong with our lives. We would just be sitting on the couch drinking beers and watching football the rest of our lives. And I'm like, yeah, like that's so true.
I love that. There's this phrase, the awake, like being woke or being awake.
Oh yeah, being woke. Woke AF.
Yeah, woke AF. Socially, I think it's bias, maybe. Like woke means you recognize a certain structure in the systems and in my...
You're talking about, like, do you agree with other people's beliefs?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you don't believe in these beliefs, you're not woke. So it's like what is it? You're part of the cool kids club.
Yeah, it's very, that's what it feels like. It feels like, and I went to a liberal graduate program where it was like...
Everyone was woke.
Yeah, and I come from this, very... I don't know. I'm still learning what woke means for me and my life and my lineage and my ancestry. But when I say, in reference to what you're saying about if we didn't have suffering, we would be on the couch just accepting this life of routine, which again means two different things, because I think being conscious about your routine is really awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
But this like sleeping mentality, like, okay, this is it. This is all I am. Very limited. And then waking up there. Who says it's the dream? Is it Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements?
I don't know, but I mean, I think that phrase is pretty common.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Maybe he really made that famous.
Coined it or something.
Yeah.
But where you wake up to the dream, this, like, there's got to be something more than this. Where was I going with that, man?
No, okay, I'll jump in. I'll jump in because it's interesting the way you phrased it as, what was that word you used? Being woke.
Yeah, being woke. Yeah, we're not talking, I just wanted to say that we're not necessarily saying woke in the social way that it's often used. We're talking about it. Yeah.
The words that come to mind is we're talking about willful ignorance. That's what seems to be the phrase that matches what we're talking about. The moment where you now have a choice how ignorant you can be towards your suffering. Where before, there's not exactly an accepting or an allowing. There's no space to that. You just are asleep as you're watching football, drinking a beer, and there's the routine aspect. But now you come up against effort, or the ignorance kind of unveils somehow or something. Everyone knows that feeling because it's not even day one. It's the rest of your life after that. You continually wake up to every moment that sucks. And you become completely aware of how much it sucks. And that leads into, I guess that's maybe the path. As soon as you realize that you're in the jungle and you're lost, you start looking for a path. Like as soon as that moment happens. And that continually happens. I've been doing this for 6 years in the Mahajriya since I was 21. That has never stopped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But probably the amount of suffering has changed. If I could weigh it, every time it's changed.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
Do you agree with that?
You mean for me?
Well, yeah.
Or just for a general, are we still trying to define what a newbie is? Or are we gonna...
Well, no, I'm talking about it from my experience of so how did you end up becoming a spiritual seeker?
Okay, how did I end up becoming a spiritual seeker? I pinned it down to when I said I'm attracted to women, and the Catholic and Presbyterian Church said you will not be accepted.
So you went looking for acceptance.
That's when I was like, which God will love me the way I am? And so, that was when I was like, something's not right. which is really quite this phrase to say, being the spiritual counselor I am now in a hospice where everyone is Christian. But I just felt like, how can a God say someone over on the other side of the world is going to hell because they don't believe what I believe? I was like, there's no way that that's what God is. Come on. And then later I became to verbalize it and contextualize it and say, wait a minute. What I'm trying to say is a difference between consciousness, divinity, and church, and the business of church, and the brand that is church, in my experience. But Mahadriya happened because I got cheated on in college, and I was so mad and confused at why I wanted to, like, I didn't want to harm this person that I had feelings for, but I had to do something with this rage inside. And that's when I started to, later on, I discovered, observe my nature. I was like, what do I do with all this? I'm sad and I'm upset, and no one did anything wrong. No one did anything wrong. We had been dating for 2 months. It was no big deal. We were in college, for God's sake. It was playful. And I took it like the end of the freaking world. And so that's when I moved to El Paso after some talk therapy, found Mahadriya, looked at myself, and I do credit my Mahadriya start point to Sarah. If you're watching this, thank you. Because had she not cheated on me, I would have been, I don't know, floating around.
That's interesting. So I was wrong. So that first one is very interesting because you had like this devotion towards understanding God, which is really cool. I feel like maybe that one might even be a little bit rare. That's a little bit more theology based in itself. I think so. I don't meet too many people that are particularly thinking about that, and that's how they led them that way.
Do you know your Enneagram?
I don't know what that is.
Enneagram's a personality test. It's like Myers-Briggs. It's this way of relating with others, finding your... I'm an Enneagram 8, which means basically I'm prone to the charismatic community member. So like a priest personality.
Oh.
A healer personality. Okay. Yeah, because I'm different and I strive on being special.
Gotcha. Cool.
So yeah, it is rare, but I think it's relatable. The second story though is relatable, being cheated on. What do you think?
I think the second story is relatable, that there was a lot of suffering, and then you ended up, finding something to figure out what to do with all that. I'm kind of stuck on the first story now, but okay. I'm really curious about your devotion on that. That's cool. It's very cool.
Okay, wonderful.
So, but we'll rein it in a little bit.
Okay, so let's rein it in, because I do want to be as useful to as many different stories that will be passing through. But in reference to devotion, it can look and feel and be many different things.
Yeah, I agree. For
sure.
So then, do we still need to unpack that idea of?
Yep.
We got to unpack that some more?
Well, I don't know, unpack. Just agree for the purpose of this.
Okay. So the agreement is that... Tell me the agreement again.
Okay. Well, the agreement that a newbie is someone within the first couple years of their conscious study of personal growth and spiritual practice. Consistent.
Got you.
Hey,
Okay.
I'm suffering and I don't want to affect as many people as possible anymore. I want to take responsibility or something. You know, again, my words are skewed because I've been in this for a while, but I also haven't at the same time. So I don't know. I'm thinking about a very fresh seeker who's hearing the word ignorant that you said, and they're like, what does that even mean? What does it mean to be in ignorance?
Okay, so like let's try and understand it experientially then. So I think everyone has a moment where in their lives it was overwhelming, or things didn't go the way they had planned or foresaw. And that leads to whatever course of words magnify that. I mean, it could be disappointment, it could be they felt like there had to be more to life. I know that one was very key to me. I can remember very clearly when I was having these thoughts. I can remember where I was. I remember walking out of my room when I was living in a garage behind over this oak tree in the back of my sister's house, and I stayed up all night. And I was so consistent for me to stay up all night. So I would take acid, I would smoke weed, I would read books, and I was just staying up all night and just kind of in my own torment. And I would walk outside and see the sunrise, and I used to just think, this can't be everything there is to life. Like, it just can't be. Like, this, there's got to be more than this, because this sucks. Like this, and someone's got to know. Someone's got to know how to do this better than I'm doing it. And so I think that experience is, in my experience as a rolfer, I see that as the most common thing that people point to when they've gone down a spiritual path. There's something unshakable happens to them that they could not ignore it anymore. And that also seems to be prevalent in transformation in general. You know, something happens that it hurts so much it broke the camel's back. That's what it seems to be. Now, whether we use the words ignorance or anything like that, we're just trying to put some words on an experience, but that's what it seems to be to me. And okay, so let's extrapolate from there. Or do you have more to say on that?
I actually think you illustrated it. The feeling is exactly where we need to be. I think we can kick off further. We can move on.
Okay. So let's extrapolate from that, from the idea of where we are now, looking back upon it.
Okay.
And kind of reminiscing, or maybe even for the person that is not, considers them a newbie anymore. Because I think that considering yourself a newbie.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So then we won't talk about the newbie thing.
No, we need to, because it's prevalent in the circles, at least. Okay, we don't need to, but I feel it would be nice to at least touch on it, because newbie is a term we hear in Mahajriya community.
Yeah.
In Sangha, we tend to say, "Oh, I'm a newbie, please." I remember looking at Ganagni one time and being like, "Hey, go easy on me, I'm a newbie," and it was this warning almost, like, "Hey, I'm whatever," and I didn't know what I meant at that time, but in my heart, when I'm in that moment now, I can say I meant I can only handle so much. I might not be ready to really see who I am yet. I'm comfortable here in my drama. I really like the attention-seeking thing, even though it hurts me all the time at the same time. Just like, please, hey, I know you know something about me, but could you just keep it under lock for a couple more sessions?
I like that. I like that you were aware of what you could handle and what you couldn't handle. That's cool.
Well, I don't know if it was yeah, I think so, because and I've actually prayed about this before, about when I go with someone, I'm like, hey, am I taking on more karma than I'm, you know, than what's balanced here? Like, am
Able to
I,
manage it. Yeah.
yeah, am I being prudent? Am I being wise? And I have to
Mm,
say, we both went hard. We were both, I feel,
mm.
maybe
I
not for
agree.
you. We both were like, I'm gonna pop these malas. I'm gonna teach these
Yeah.
classes. I'm gonna go to these seminars. I'm gonna soak up. I'm gonna.
I know. Isn't that funny? It's because so I so this is what I think of that moment.
Tell me.
I'm trying to find words that are not super cryptic.
Right?
Let's use, because there was a belief that there was somewhere to get to.
Yep.
And yeah,
And there was a race, a competition.
well, I definitely still struggle with the competition part. So I don't know exactly how to speak on that. I could speak on
Yeah.
it like what my problems are with it, but how to actually manage it, I'm not too sure. You know, maybe you can speak on it.
I love that you're saying it like that, because I do think you have it managed based on what I experience with you. I think you use it as a tool. You say, I'm competing. I need to, I'm competing.
That's it.
And it's in this
I'm competing.
yeah, you see that it's happening. It's not this nature that happens, this energy that boils up, this rage that comes out. I mean, it's there, but it's seen, I think, when I see you.
Fair enough. Fair
But
enough.
for me, I wish, um, and I don't know. I'm looking around a lot, trying to, like, as if my words are over here and there. But I
Mm.
wish that competition was something that I didn't really debunk as early on as I feel I did, because my everything was, I need to be, you know, better than someone. And I when I realized that that was an illusion, or that was something that limited my experience of life, I was like, oh, well, then I just.
Mm.
But now I feel like, okay, that reward of just doing something to do it, like, it's still not as juicy as competition is. And like, I just wish I could. I I wish I wish I could be like, and I'm sure I am. I'm sure I'm not completely, dissolved the competitive potentials in me, but I really like to lose weight. Oh, I would love to, like,
To
be
be
in
competitive.
competition with myself or with somebody, because I would love to see what's underneath all this, like,
I saw,
you
I
know?
saw, no, I agree with you. No, yeah, competition is healthy. It's good. I
It
like it.
really is.
Yeah.
It's a tool. But I judged it so much that I was like really looking at it, and I'm like, I can't compete. No. Oh God.
Well,
Ugh.
yeah. I mean, I've been reading a little bit and I've been thinking about the superiority complex that's like ingrained with competitiveness. And
Mm-hmm.
yet there's like a very pleasurable aspect to competitiveness that feels good, you know? And so there's a little bit
Mm.
of like untangling that needs to happen. Yeah, and I'm in the midst of like in the web, kind of like someone stuck in a spider web, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out how it's all working, which is very, very fresh in me.
Yeah. Like, I want to go down that road. Are you saying like it's like a mental web?
Susie, I don't know.
Okay.
See, because when I feel the competitiveness, I feel it in my solar plexus. And so what I've started to relate to it is this confidence aspect. And that the need to be confident or the need to be competitive comes from a lack of confidence. And that kind of ties us back into what led us down this road in a fun way, because kind of like shot away. But in that beginning of you want to be this other person, there's so much suffering, you see this ideal person, and you want to be that, and you're not that person, and you just feel all this suffering because of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And that too is a competitive nature. You're competing with your dream of yourself. Does that make sense?
Shit.
Okay, good. Okay, but so then get this. So then there's
that was Susie for yes, Matthew. It does make sense.
Okay,
Please continue.
Okay, got you. I wasn't sure if I was waiting. Okay, so then you're competing with this dream of yourself of who you could be. But then there's the question of, why do you even come up with the idea that you could be better than who you are now? Like, what drives that? And that in itself seems to be what underrides that you truly, that's the competitiveness of your potential.
Okay.
That's like driving you. But what seems to be so true is this is what I've been unraveling lately, is that there's so much self-hatred wrapped around it that you can't even see how much you love yourself to be more confident, to be better. You judge it. And so you wrap your own inability to love yourself in violence for yourself, because you can't be what is already driving you to be that. And so it's an innate fight, all like linked in with, I'm going to get to the other side and reach ascension, reach avatar, reach Buddhahood, reach blah, 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 blah,
blah, blah, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. All that.
So you're saying all at once. And by the way, I've got goosebumps. Thank you.
So I feel all
Thank you for that. That was gorgeous. I feel, there's Dharma right there. Thank you. So you're saying there's all at once this, I never know if it's dissatisfaction or unsatisfaction. Is dissatisfaction a word?
Go for it.
Okay. So there's this dissatisfaction for who you are in this moment. And, you have, let me see here, the perfectionist, maybe, the imposter syndrome or whatever, are they going to figure me out part of you, where you're like, well, I didn't do it this time. The integrity that we know, the times that we don't, the times that we don't help someone across the road, or the times that we don't stay true to a diet plan, or the times that we don't, clean the house on a routine or something. No one else sees that, but it all builds up. So you're saying that all builds up, and the umbrella term is, oh God, self-hatred. That word hatred took me 2 to 3 years to even say out loud.
Oh wow.
So can we just be like, if you're listening to this and the word hatred is like coming at you strong, like, I'm with you. But so you're saying all of that is happening while there's this like heroic like narrative going on, like, we're going to be better, because I love you so much, I want you to be better. or I
Yeah,
admire you so much. Can hatred, what's the flip of hatred? What's the vice?
joy?
Oh, are you
No.
sure?
There's like levels, I believe, but
Yeah, because I'm sensing into a level of like hatred to like envy almost, which is another seven deadly sin. I'm really in the Catholicism dialogue books these days. Excuse me.
okay.
But really, like this admiration, we're going from like, I hate you so much, I want to, be you type thing. This like it's all an illusion. But
It
all
is
I'm
like self adoration. But
admiration, yeah, like you can see the potential inside and you're like
so, I don't know. Do you agree with
fighting.
this idea that there is something that is consistently pushing you?
Oh man. Yes. And if it's not there, I fear no longer mattering.
Oh wow, he took it to a whole nother
I'm
step.
so sorry. You asked me.
I
That's
fear
if
if
it's
it's not there, is
it.
no longer mattering.
What's the whole point of all
It's
this?
beautiful. I mean,
I
yeah,
don't
no,
even
yeah,
matter anymore. If I don't even have this drive to get up, then why am I going to get up? Like I really need this like reward system.
absolutely. I'm with you on that. It's almost like if you were paddling downstream and then you went like, who fucking cares? And you
Yeah.
just, I mean, then you're afraid that the boat might end up going down a waterfall or capsizing, or you'll get eaten by an alligator or something. I mean, yeah, it's dangerous, and I totally
Maybe,
get that.
but that kind of touches on what you were saying about that darkness that you're swallowed by before you go into spirituality.
I think so. Well, maybe go on. I think you understand that. Go on. Do you have more to say on that?
Well, when you explained where that moment of there's got to be someone who knows how to do life better than I do
Oh, got
happened.
you. Not funny.
It's sort of this like it's sort of this like feeling of okay, well what I've created doesn't matter or what I've created is not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to link two things.
I mean, I definitely went through that. I went through that without a doubt.
Well, and a lot of people I speak with that describe their routine the way you did about the hallucinogens and Molly and just constantly trying to connect with something because they're denying deep
Hmm.
this belief, or I don't know, I'd say it's a belief because it's not true, hopefully, that they don't matter. This
Interesting.
it's
Maybe
kind of dark.
it is. I mean, words hold a memory. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, the idea that nothing matters, it brings about a freedom and a curse, it almost feels like. There's like truth in that, but it's so embedded with the inability to be a functioning human. It
Right.
is really
It is.
incredibly hard to be a
It is.
functioning human with the belief system that nothing matters.
And
Yeah.
the newbie in the newbie journey of mine involves, if not still, the more I meditate and awaken to higher consciousness or higher whatever, no, it's higher consciousness, the more that I open myself up to seeing the identity, the structures I've built, and just looking at them, the more I do that, there are these like reminders of wait, if the jealousy that I experienced can be observed down to a desire to be loved, can be, also observed at a level of abandonment. If I can look at my abandonment, okay, and then I can see, if I can really kind of like mechanically take myself down to the root of all things, then
Yeah,
what? You know, and there's this moment. There are moments of, and I had such a hard moment. What was it during COVID? Actually, COVID was such an eye opener for me because I could have not worked. It could have been like, nah, I'm not really gonna work or like making it like any money. Like I'm just gonna keep borrowing money from my parents. Da, 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 da.
yeah.
Or I could have been, or what I try to do is I built that cleaning business. Da, 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 da. What I'm trying to say is sometimes it's hard to see the meaning in a consciousness of identity is, your own construct, and what you're attached to, isn't necessarily. I used to equate suffering with attachment, right? And suffering with, I need to be loved. I judged all of these natural things because in the newbie high, I was like, I'm conscious of all these dynamics, and since I'm conscious of them, then that means that I don't need them, and I'm just gonna sit here and not care that me missing an appointment causes a reaction in someone else, because it's their journey to experience that reaction. And I don't have to, take responsibility for anything, because at the end of the day, nature takes care of itself. So what does it need me for? And it's like, yeah. I'm gonna stop, actually. I was gonna say
Okay.
that I feel like I should kind of go full circle in that is, I'd say, a side effect maybe to a passion of growth fueled by self-hatred. When you're really like, I gotta change this because I'm a mess, and if I live one more day being the mess I am, like, I can't handle it anymore. Like, that would be a side effect, is this sort of doomsday mentality. And maybe that's where I'm seeing my way out of in my life now. I'm, after how long has it been? 5 years?
Yeah.
I am now, okay, I'm going to work not because I have to, even though it's nice to have money. I'm going to work because, hey, that's just where, that's the life I've created. I go to work. I see people. People see me. I cause suffering. I cause joy. They cause suffering in me. They cause joy in me. Cool. Oh, cool. This is, it's nice. It's what it is. That was a lot of me talking, dear.
That's okay. Let's take a moment to integrate that, because
there was
a lot.
I want to tie our dialogue into the 5 elements, and I just, maybe it's not what best serves in this moment. How do you think?
I don't know. I'm thinking about our friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
like listening as that friend. Yeah. Okay.
But I'm
Oh
curious
gosh.
to. Well, there was a lot. You talked a lot about. You know what? That's really cool that you're able to perceive and see life the way that you just described in a very witness observer experience that I think is difficult to even imagine.
Okay.
Very difficult. I'm not saying that in a way that's like, oh, that's too difficult to share with other people, but I mean, because I know you, and knowing how hard you worked on simplicity and to see the results and you sharing them, and it's
Oh, come
powerful.
on.
It's very beautiful.
Well, okay. Okay, thank you.
Look at
All
that.
right, yeah, cool.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Just another event. Is that what you did to me? You just made me another event.
Well, you know what I said, in my head I said, accept it. It's love. Okay, I accept it. Thank you.
Good. Cool. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. And to have someone witness me from the beginning to now, it's kind of funny to think of it as beginning to now, because I still feel as vulnerable and as ignorant and as silly and tense as I did on my first meditation class.
I mean, that's the whole point, that you don't ever stop being a newbie.
Yeah, I think that's what the veil that we're trying to.
You don't ever stop being a newbie. Yeah, I agree. You're on a journey of self-empowerment. I mean, that's the whole point. So you go through every fucking thing that gets you away from being here right now. It just totally pushes you into the past or the future and all that. And all of the prerequisites are necessary, especially if you're going on a path of self-empowerment.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
I guess you're right. The name of the game is to be in situations that you are not comfortable in. It's like a constant expansion of comfort zone.
Yeah, because that's, exactly. Your comfort zone is exactly what's beginning to expand, and you see so much in you and all that stuff. You know, it just continues and continues. It's awesome. I think so. So I think like being a newbie is filled with two experiences, including a million, but two very highly patternized experiences with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use the word, and with comparison.
In the same experience, or two different ones?
I think those just seem to categorize everything. Like you're excited, you're ready to learn, you keep trying out new things, you're down, you have all this, there's this new avenue to life, and you start exploring this perception. And you are consistently realizing how further along people are on the road, quote unquote.
And they're not stopping. Could you just stop growing for like a couple days so that I can like...
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm thinking about trauma. We're constantly... okay, I don't want to generalize because it could be a trigger. I want to say that oftentimes trauma is used as what is compared to in a journey of self-growth. We don't want to be in that situation again. So, or when that happened, you know,
exactly.
We have this,
and why don't we? And why don't we?
Okay.
Why don't we?
Hold on.
I'm still writing the enthusiasm.
I know. Let's just be a little bit more. It's inspiring. But oftentimes, because trauma sucks, it's uncomfortable and it's challenging and, painful.
It is. It's all of those things wrapped into one. Yeah.
I love you. But why don't we? Oh, honey. Okay. With the time we have left, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be
Oh, do what you
a few different hats right now. I will say the 5 elements is something, I know as soon as I said it before, I was like trying to find the link, but it just happens because when I am in those voids, I'd say, I get into like emotional voids where I'm just, or mental voids where I'm just like, what is life? I use the 5 basic elements. And even when I'm like, I'm speaking these syllables that don't make any sense, I sound ridiculous, there's this dialogue in my head that's like, is this really working, you sound stupid, right? I use them, and there is an effect in my vital plane, I start to have to pee even. Having to go to the bathroom makes me get up. It makes me move. Like, it's so like simple and sometimes ignored, but it is, the 5 elements can get you from in those newbie voids and those newbie, holy shit, I think I signed up for too much. They can get you out of those holes and out into the world or into a more balanced interaction, I'd say, with life. You can be depressed on your bed in this philosophical chamber of but wise, and you can say Om, or even just Prithivi, Earth, and it has an effect. You can say Tejas, and there's movement somewhere, even if it's so subtle that you don't even notice. You probably won't notice. Okay, like that's the point. Like, but I want to at least speak the elements in Sanskrit as an experience for the last moments we have together, and maybe the elements can kind of settle the excitement that was inspired by remembering these moments in our newbie life, and also, bring the energy back to okay, we can go back to our lives after this.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was the goal.
Well, it's not. I don't know.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know the goal.
Usually I can sense. Usually I can. No, it's not. Don't go back. Only go up. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So you want me to say the words?
I don't know. How do you feel? Do you want to? I can. How to do this?
So there's the idea that I think is commonly taught in the Mahajriya that the elements represent the creation of life, right? And so the Mahajriya lays them out not in like form of density, like, which one's hardest, which one's thinnest, but as in which one comes first in the flow of the creation. And so the first one that we say is earth. So in the word Prithivi, the the Sanskrit of it is like what came out of, in a very small paraphrase. But then if we take that idea like PRITHIVI and we imagine like the universe and we think about, okay, what came out of creator, of source, and something came out, and we're meditating on the little particles in the sand or the planets or the rays or whatever it is. You came out. And so there's this natural connection in Earth that you nourish in the relationship of creation and creator, or just in you and your body. And so there's all the nourishment aspects of generation and, taking care of your health, eating, and, whatever that means. You have to learn what it's like to live in the universe, which is your body. Right? Okay, so we'll let that settle. Anything you want to add on that?
Apart from just total awe of how you described it. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
There's this primal connection, I think, in the earth. There's Sabrina Lynn is a teacher of rewilding, in which she speaks of getting back to our roots, getting back to observing how are we really acting and why. And anyway, I'll link the resources in the description below, but there's this wild aspect to PRITHIVI, this primal rawness that I think.
What do you think describes it?
You're asking me to be descriptive.
Well, you're moving your hands.
I know.
Caressing your hands, so there's some type of physical
particle friction, tension.
But it seems like it's almost like they're like, at least what I'm barely getting a flavor of it, but like maybe like a want to be closer. Is that what you're gathering to?
So I'm hardly touching it too in my life, but what I'm trying to inspire is this. If you go back to this time of primitive living, before speech, like that's how far I'm going back. Like, like I don't mean to be comedic, but I can't help it. It's who I am. But really, going back pre words, pre personality, pre-social structure, pre-you. That's what I think of. PRITHIVI, like almost like.
I feel you, yeah.
PRITHIVI, and okay.
So there's that wild nature of like, sometimes you just do things if you didn't have words, if you didn't have a job, you would just be doing things. That's in your animal nature. It's primal. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah,
That's what I'm feeling from that.
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting.
And it's like this feeling
part
of
yes.
I'm gonna get up and dance. I'm gonna get up and do things. And so there's
there's this absence of like
okay. So let me
filters or something. I'm
put
trying
these two things together.
Okay, go for it.
So then we have the idea that all these things come out of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that earth. And then we have this behavior that seems to extrapolate from it, of this wild nature that also comes out of creation.
Mm.
And then there's this middle point in between these two floating dots in space where we judge ourselves because we have innate urges that we can't fucking understand. We don't know where they came from, and we should have changed this because God shouldn't have made this innately. And so let's try and marry those, that this wild nature, this innate earthly
and cue my dogs running into their
Perfect.
house. That is
Wild
so
dog.
perfect. Hi,
Perfect.
honeys.
This wild nature, this is already embraced by God, or actively. So let's practice loving the connection. Let's practice loving what already is a creation from God, which is already a creation from Creator. There you go. So there's nothing innately wrong about you.
Wow. Yeah. Yes.
Well, hold on. Let's anchor that for a second. So then, as a new way of looking at PRITHIVI, like not just regeneration, not just gathering materials, but reconnecting with your I don't know that word. I'm trying to find the word.
Like almost like the original.
So your divine original source. So that's our PRITHIVI of the day. And especially the parts of you that don't add up to perfection in your mind. They couldn't possibly come out. See, it's not even just coming out. It's like this denial that part of me, that's the only thing that is not part of God. My ego, that's not part of God. My bones, my big bones, my fat, my negative thoughts.
Yeah.
All that is that PRITHIVI essence of creating more resource for divinity to flow through. Nice.
PRITHIVI.
Yeah, so I feel that incarnation go through my feet, and I feel that. It's nice. It's very strong. Good job. We did a good job.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I'm inspired wanting to. I forgot we had taught classes together.
Yeah.
We should maybe, if it's right, offer maybe a weekend of the elements or something if we have the
Maybe
interest.
we just have to pontificate for an hour and then
And then get
somehow
into it.
muddle through that and then be like, well, what are we gonna do?
That's fine.
No, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Let's give it a shot. I'd be happy to do it. I'm not saying no. I'm kind of joking. No, I'd be happy to do it. So let's. Oh, sorry. Can we summarize?
Please. Yeah.
Okay. Right, because we're nearing the end. Am I wrong, or are we gonna go through the rest?
Nope. This is our offering. Yeah. This is.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that fits. So
it does. It's perfect. Thank you.
We talked about the newbie experience, and we try to define like what it means to be a newbie, and you know, and yeah, and we did, and basically, what it seems to me that we kept hitting upon is that there's some sort of suffering in it. Like that's basically what newbie is. You're really suffering a lot, and it hurts, and that's and that sucks, and that's it's part of the whole reason we start spiritually journeying and look at personal growth and transformation, because it fucking sucks. We have to accept that fact that life sucks. Like it happens. Mm-hmm. It's the way it is. and then we talked about the difficult to attain of how do you come up to this wall where you're struggling so hard that basically now you're tormenting yourself because life still sucks and you're not the ideal version. Mm-hmm. And how to resolve that within yourself, of looking at how much you fucking love yourself to grow and embrace that instead of trying to get to another endpoint. Because maybe trying to get to an endpoint is not gonna work. And it's a whole reframing.
And it shatters any aspect, any construct, any security, anything that you thought was the way things were.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And then we talked about, there's still that one little point I can't touch. And then we talked about the PRITHIVI and how it nourishes the body and feeling chi flow through the body, and the idea of the philosophy of everything coming out of creation, and then applying that to ourselves and to our own nature of how to connect with ourselves and bring it closer to divinity. How do we bring those two things and unite them?
How do we find the divinity in our bones, in our
exactly
in our primal original?
That's absolutely it. How do we find the divinity in our bones?
Messy and I'm still doing this thing.
Because it's such a feeling that has to sink into the flesh. I mean, you really have to be so attached to the feeling that you really want it here. It's no longer an idea that you're trying to get to. It's got to be right now. It's got to be here, and you got to feel it. And so it's got to be like sensual in a way.
Yes.
It's got to be felt.
It's got to be.
Yeah, and it's beautiful as an idea, but all those things like marry each other and float you down the river, especially if you've been stuck in eddy currents, which I definitely was for a long time, for years. I think almost 3 years I've been stuck in this eddy current, and so there's no, I still I don't even know if there's a newbie-esque thing to really recognize. I'm a newbie if I started playing tennis, you know. There's some things that you know, and it's all based on those ideas that we came up on, all that lack of confidence, and it's in trying to lay out the idea. Sorry?
The vulnerability.
The vulnerability of attempting to approach those things. And I think the last thing that I kind of kept seeing it floating there, but I didn't really touch on it. And it keeps like just floating away. Like it just like, it's right there, and then floats away, and then it floats in, it floats away. It like kind of wants to. I don't know if this is just like inspiration, because if you really lean into the idea that there's no goal, then you really got to find a way to deal with life. Like you really got to find a way. And I think that's the self-empowerment aspect. That's where it really hits. And if you can find a way, then you accept life on the terms it comes to you. Like you stop fucking trying to change the river, and you just start floating or start paddling with it. And dare yourself to say, how can I enjoy it?
You surrender.
You surrender to it. And
beautiful.
Flowing into that. And for me, that opening was through loving everything that arose. Just switching my mindset like that. I needed that. I needed that because I hated emotion so much. I hated the aspects of life so much. I needed to learn how to love it, but it didn't change it. It just changed my acclimation to it. I just, it's going to happen no matter what. I'm going to love it then.
Wow.
Now I'm going to love the fuck out of it.
See, now that's, to me, the way that, yeah, I don't love it. I forget the moment, what you're describing happened fairly recently where, oh, yeah, okay, the recipe of life involves traffic jams, being rejected, someone not understanding me, not understanding someone else. Like, this is what life is. Life is this. Yeah, I don't love it. I feel
so that's a different self-empowerment for you though, because for you, love was a form of suffering, which also for me, but it was very attached to that. So,
oh, wow, yeah.
So wielding it in that way doesn't work for you.
It doesn't.
But wielding it in simplicity.
Yep.
Is it just as it is?
It's just
all of a sudden you're floating down the river.
And I'm free from, the fight. Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone has, that's it. That's what being a newbie is about. Figuring out how the fuck can you manage this shit.
Yes.
It is radical responsibility.
And I think
self-empowering.
It seeps into every fiber. It's like, eventually I'd say there's a zero tolerance policy for anything other than.
You know what? Maybe so. Maybe so.
Well,
I definitely like I won't integrate without love now. I will not integrate anything without love, because I can't not be okay with life if I don't love it. Like that's how I work, and eventually I'll probably reach a point where that'll become my next wall. But for now, it's filling up. It's like a boat, that goes through those dams, and then you fill up one side, and
And
then
then
they lower one wall, and then you got to go on this one, and it
you
fills
gotta
up this
keep
one.
going.
Just keep doing that, and it's not like you left the ocean. You just are crossing to the same ocean on the other side of another piece of land with the same fucking people with the same fucking problems. Like nothing really changes.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, another when you said that, there was this moment when you said in the past in another conversation we had that people are people wherever we go.
Yeah.
And something about that demystified, it helped me with my anxiety of, will I be accepted in this moment? Will I be okay? People are people. Like, and then my structures of like
Yeah.
my structures of like people are doing life better than me dissolved because I started to see people that I admire mess up. I started to see people that I thought were living life the way that it's supposed to live, started to do things that I didn't agree with, that I saw a more efficient way of doing something to, like this constant, like the way I do things is wrong, or it became like, no, there is no right or wrong way. And I've been saying that for
A
a
long time.
decade. Like, there's no right or wrong. No, like, there seriously is what you know, what you've experienced, and then sort of, I guess, the fantasy of what you think other people know and what other people experience.
I think that's actually, I think there's even more complexity to that because
Yeah.
you're actually even tapping into the consciousness of what they're experiencing. And then, so there's reality in that fantasy, and then you exaggerate it based on how amazing you perceive everyone else to be except yourself.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm really happy you shared that with me. I also, I think a lot of your experiences of how you've loved yourself has led me to this. It's reminded me of that this was the right thing to do, to shift towards loving.
Good.
So your experiences of that definitely helped me.
We keep helping each other.
Always. I think so.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Well, on that awesome note, I'm going to say to the masses, if you're listening and you have questions or comments, we are constantly monitoring our feedback from you, and we want a conversation and we want to engage. So ask it, say it, type it, and let's explore it together. If you or someone you know would benefit from this, subscribe to our newsletter or share it with them. And we hope to see you again in another offering that we have. We have classes, workshops, all virtual, 100% online. So you can come if you have a Wi-Fi connection. And we love you. You're so loved. All right. Gonna stop the recording and then say bye.